If you would be a real seeker after truth, it's necessary that at least once in your life you doubt as far as possible all things. That's from Rene Descartes' Discourse on the Method, written in 1637. What Descartes means by this is that an attitude of doubt should be our default, our starting point, our blank slate or empty foundation on which we can use the tools of evidence and reason to build the solid structures of truth. This idea, which 20th century philosopher Paul Kurtz might call scientific skepticism, is the cornerstone of the scientific method and has led humanity to the greatest level of technological and social development in human history. We can also see this concept popping up in the parlance of our times, in adages like better safe than sorry, and in movies like Apollo 13, where flight director Gene Kranz said one of my favorite lines from any movie, "Let's work the problem, people. Let's not make things worse by guessing." Do you think Descartes was off the mark? If so, we want to talk to you. So give us a call at 512-991-9242 or point your browser to tiny.cc/calltw because the show is starting right now.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Truth Wanted. Truth Wanted is a product of the ACA, the Atheist Community of Austin, and we do it every Friday at 7 p.m. Central, where we talk to people about what they believe and why. And if you'd like, you can call us, as Scott told you at the beginning of the show, at 512-991-9242, or through your computer at tiny.cc/tw. Truth Wanted is a product of the Atheist Community of Austin, a 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the promotion of atheism, critical thinking, secular humanism, and the separation of religion and government. And my amazing guest today, as you probably already figured out, is Scott Dickie. And he's not only my guest here on the show, but he's a guest here in my office. So welcome to the show, Scott.
All right.
Welcome to my place.
I just happened to be in the neighborhood. It was nice of you to accommodate. And right off the top of the bat here, I want to thank you and all of the crew for making this our unusual setup here work. And I think we're going to have a good time. And I think we're going to have some good conversations today. I'm looking forward to it.
I hope so too. And before we do get started though on the show, I wanted to go back to last week when we asked people we want the truth question for the week. And last week we asked, what is an inappropriate thing to say to a psychic? I had an idea, but it was inappropriate to actually submit it. So it was.
I sensed that you didn't want to submit that one. So I think we got it covered.
And here are our three favorite answers. Number 3 from Niblik616, an inappropriate thing to say to a psychic: I know why you never win the lottery. That's pretty good. And number 2 from James West 8280, what is an inappropriate thing to say to a psychic? Where is my birthmark located? I'll show it to you and let you know if you're right or not.
That could be interesting.
With my birth certificate, it would definitely be, or my birthmark, it would be definitely interesting.
Pass. I'll pass. I'm not a psychic.
That's okay. I don't want to show you anyway. From Helmut Koch, I'm hoping I said that right.
Sure, let's roll with it. We'll say 100% that was correct.
I just had a really weird visual image.
Yeah, hurry up, read the rest of it. Let's get that.
Thing to say to a psychic, you did not see that coming.
Lots of ways we could take that one. Yeah. I think it's best left unsaid.
The prompt for this week is, what is Bigfoot's weakness? Scott, what do you have for an answer for that one?
You know, I thought a lot about this. Bigfoot is like this big, powerful beast of a being, but you might think that it's invulnerable, that it's unstoppable, but everything has its weakness. And I think Bigfoot's weakness is kryptonite. That's kryptonite. Is this thing on? Kryptonite.
Yes.
My wife laughed at it, so that satisfied me. Okay, kryptonite. That's my answer. Final answer.
I was thinking his weakness might be Legos in the middle of the night.
That's a very practical answer there. We went way from the esoteric and the nerdy on one side and down to the very practical and something we've all experienced. Yeah. So we can relate now to Bigfoot and we can feel that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. I like it.
So, so we got a few minutes here, Scott. I
Sure.
want to ask you, how the hell did you end up here in my little tiny town?
You know, I was I came with my family. We're going to see a show. We're going to see the Stone Temple Pilots tomorrow night in
Cool.
Wisconsin. And I thought, hey, Kelley's just right up the block from there. So I made the extra hike, and Kelley was kind enough to be here when I got here. And yeah, so that's how it worked out. I happened to be in the neighborhood, and so it turned into like a little impromptu Midwest invasion. So today only, we're giving priority to Midwest callers.
We are.
So call in, Midwest callers.
I didn't know that, but okay,
Yep.
we will. We
Right.
will do that.
Sure.
And so, what you were just on Talk Heathen, were you not?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had
yeah.
a good time with Jimmy Jr. Yeah, he's always
Yeah.
fun.
I just did a show last week with Jimmy Jr. here on
All
Truth
right.
Wanted.
Hey, Jimmy's quite the guy.
Jimmy brings out the best of me. I really think he does. We just did a nonprofits together, which is going to be great. You should watch. Everybody should watch it next week.
I've heard that was the flagship show of the ACA.
I was just about to say that. I
Yeah.
think it's the most socially relevant show at the ACA, and it needs more viewers because it is a really, really good show.
Watch
And
the
I'm
show.
not just saying that because you and I are on it.
Right.
Although he and I are on it.
Let's go with that answer. I like
Okay.
that answer. Let's stick with that one.
Do you think we should jump into a call?
Sure. Yeah.
You want to?
Sure. Let's bring it.
You know what? Before we do, though, I want to thank our patron of the week.
Okay.
So every week we choose one of our patron donators at patreon.com, and we throw them up on the screen and we thank them for the week.
Okay. Let's
And
do
our
it.
patron of the week this week is, see, there's the little board, Jason.
All right, Jason. Way to
Yay,
go, Jason.
Thank you very much. And thank you for having a name that was easy for me to read.
I know many Jasons, and I'm a fan of all of them.
I'm a fan of all the Jasons I know, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a bad Jason? Well, I suppose the one in, well, you know,
There's
we
the
don't
one-
know Jason Voorhees from the movies, right? We don't, I mean, maybe he's a nice guy. I don't, you know, we don't want to judge because that's really only
He might
one
just
side
have-
of the story.
He might just have something wrong.
It could be.
and really
it could
he's
be.
a
Or,
nice
you
guy.
know, who knows what. But thank you, Jason, for
Thank you.
supporting
Yes,
our show.
Thank you, Jason. And you can also thank us or help support us so that we can thank you as our patron of the week at Patreon. It's tiny.cc/PatreonTW.
Is having me in the room distracting you, Kelley, today?
No,
I feel like
I'm just normally an idiot on Fridays.
I feel like you can't, you know, bear to sit in my presence. Is that, do you think that's it?
No,
Nah,
I think we're good.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Let's go take a call.
All right, you
Let's
ready?
see what we got here. Sure. We got Lantis in they, them in New York.
Okay, go ahead.
It says non-cognitive theism is a better middle ground for belief.
Lantis, can you hear us?
Hello. I can hear you.
Oh,
Guys. Yep.
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you
we
a
can hear
little
you.
bit.
You're a little light.
Can we turn up the
So
volume a
how are
little
you
bit?
guys? How are you guys doing tonight?
That's good.
Good.
Doing excellent, Lantis. I'm intrigued by the little prompt here for your call here.
Yes. Just a quick shout out to my guy and call screener Cullen. He did a fantastic and excellent job call screening me. So I wanted to give him a shout out.
Cool. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Anyway, yeah, he is definitely. Definitely, yeah. So I wanted to talk about non-cognitive theism and as a better meeting ground for skeptics, spiritualists, those with religion, and atheists and agnostics to all meet. Because if non-cognitive theism is a belief in God or deities as such, while doubting their existence, and if you can add agnosticism in the mix and say, hey, throw your hands up and say, I don't know if any deities exist or don't exist, and then you can throw a little bit of atheism in the mix as you're cooking a recipe or making bread or cooking any recipe, is there a dash a little bit of atheism in there and say, I'm not necessarily convinced of any God claim or God's claims.
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of that, so we've got a good recipe going on with that in the mix, with all that going on. You know what I mean? It's a good,
I'm not sure. I want to start out with what exactly you mean by non-cognitive theism. I thought I knew what you meant, but then when you started talking, I thought maybe I had the wrong idea. So can you please explain exactly what you mean by that?
Sure. Yeah. By what I mean by non-cognitive theism is that we say we don't believe necessarily that God exists. We doubt he exists, yet we do give a little bit of belief in the direction that a God or deities like God may exist, whether they be or be not all benevolent or evil or omniscient or omnipowerful. We just don't know, because I also take the side of an agnostic. I would say I don't know, and I take the side of atheism. I'm not convinced.
Have you ever heard the term theosophical non-cognitivism?
No.
Okay, because like that's what I thought you meant, was that. So it's basically the same thing you're saying, except the words are reversed, right? The theism and the non-cognitive part are reversed. So I'm not sure that because what you're talking about isn't the same as that. So you can understand how I got a little confused, right?
Right.
So I'm still a little unclear on what you mean there, Lantis. Are you saying that it's kind of an extreme? So you do or you don't believe in a God, or are you saying you don't believe, but then you're allowing for the possibility? Is that it, or something's not connecting in my brain here right now?
May I just take a second to clarify, if you don't mind?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Yeah. I would say that, and I want to challenge. Can I make a challenge to Jamie the Blind Limey real quick, since he's always listening and accepting challenges, as he says. He says he accepts a good challenge. I'd like to challenge him. I'd like to challenge because the last time I heard him call, he called in to comment about a caller that had called during a show, and he did that during a show. So here's my challenge to Jamie the Blind Limey. He said during the call, when he had called in, he said he likes religious paintings and iconography and religious architecture, although he would prefer that the world come to a place where we can do without all the dogma and all of the doctrine and theology, all the spiritism and the supernatural. However, I would say to do that would degrade all the architecture, iconography, the art, everything about it. Because without all the dogma and doctrine, the iconography and the architecture would have never arisen.
Okay, so you're wanting a response from Jamie on that?
This reminds me of something that Richard Dawkins recently said and got a lot of kickback for, when he said that he didn't want to discount something, like he didn't want to discount cultural Christianity, and he got a lot of kickback for that. And I don't see a problem with enjoying cultural Christianity as an atheist, because there are some beautiful pieces of art. There is some beautiful architecture that came out of Christianity. That is the cultural heritage of the religion, and some of that is beautiful and should be appreciated. I don't see a problem with that.
Are you saying that the religious connotations add to the enjoyment of the art, or are you saying that the artists are inspired by sincerely held beliefs, or how would the God belief or lack thereof affect the artwork?
What you just said. You just asked me the question, but your question was both the answer. The dogma inspired the art and the architecture, and then the artists were also moved by the dogma, and the dogma inspired it. But also, to answer your other question, do I believe in a God, or do I doubt? I put my hand in a little bit. I put my left hand in and keep my right hand out, depending on the day, depending on whatever I'm going through. I will pour out a libation of what I'm drinking, or a food offering, or a tobacco offering, and I say, hey, can you help me out with this? Kind of like I like to bring things back to pop culture, because I think people can understand pop culture. Have you two seen the movie Tommy Boy with Chris Farley?
No.
So there's a scene spoiler alert, but there's a scene at the end of that film. He plays a bumbling kind of guy, of course, And at the end of that film,
Chris Farley? No. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Keep going.
he's talking to the ghost. He's talking to his father, who had died and who had passed away at the beginning of the movie. And he says, "Hey, Dad," he's on a boat in the middle of the lake, and he says, "Hey, Dad, do you think you'd help out? I need a little bit of wind here, but if not, that's okay too." And then he gets his wind. So he's like, so it's kind of like that. It was kind of like, "Gee, God or gods, could you help me out?" Or just, "Hey, saying thanks for everything, but if you don't exist, this isn't going to harm me in any way. But if maybe I can throw a little belief into the mix, maybe that's all the gods are requiring. Not 100% belief, but just a little bit of belief in the mix to..."
It sounds to me like you're trying to be a living form of Pascal's wager.
I was about to say, it sounds to me like you're hedging your bets. That's the same
Right.
thing. Yeah.
So, but let me ask you this. So you're suggesting that you act in a way that you believe, or are you saying that you're trying to, I mean, because you can't, at least from what I understand, maybe I just don't get it, but you can't really believe and not believe at the same time. I understand that you can believe and then later on not believe, and then maybe later on again you start believing again. It just seems like what you're saying is more. Are you talking more of a way of describing your own belief and your own positions, or are you talking about ways when you're in your call or in the notes here? It mentioned something about a better middle ground. Are you saying that you will kind of play the part a little bit to appease people that you happen to be sitting with or talking with, or are you saying just kind of go along with the show a little bit?
I do it on all levels, because like I don't necessarily do anything to appease anybody else, because I really don't care if people disagree with me or not, or hold my views or not. I think we can meet peaceably at the end of the day and not treat each other like total crap. It's a success. It's a success. It's been a successful day. However, at the same moment in time, I do believe in God. I at least put a little bit of effort to believe in a deity or deities if I'm going to pour out a drink offering, because that's something I could have drinking and taken into my body with enjoyment. So I'm wasting it if the gods don't exist. So it might as well behoove me to put a little bit of effort into believing what I'm doing actually means something and has purpose to it. And the only way that pouring out a libation is going to have that effect is if I actually believe that the God that exists that I'm pouring it to, and that they're going to accept the drink offering.
I guess what the distinction that I'm asking about is between distinguishing between your actual belief, the state of whatever your state of belief is, whether you believe or you don't believe or whatever, versus acting, playing out a part, doing the rituals, saying the prayers or going along, bowing your head, stuff like that. Would that be fair to say that you're separating those two, and that you're whether or not you believe? Now it's, to me, it seemed like I just heard you say that you do believe. Is that correct, or you don't believe, or?
I believe, yet I remain skeptical, and do not necessarily. I'm a soft atheist. I will admit, I'm a soft atheist. Now, I will say I am not yet necessarily convinced that any God claims have made it up to muster with me, though I'd be willing to take some evidence if presented with some, and I have some pretty good idea of what evidences I would take, but I wouldn't want to be confronted with those kind of evidences. And neither would you, so I'll save you from expelling them on the show, because probably get me banned.
Hey, I don't generally accept evidence. I want proof myself, but
that's what when I say evidence, yeah, I mean proof. That's what I meant. I meant proof. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, a lot of people say evidence. I think when they mean proof, I'm just trying to get people to start saying the correct words.
So are you saying, it sounds to me like what you're describing is that you're an agnostic atheist, right? You don't believe, but you're open to the possibility. You don't claim knowledge of there not being a God. But it also seems like you're coupling that with some social graces, right? You're acting in such a way as to participate somewhat in the rituals of others? Is that what you're getting? Or when you say like you pour out your drink or something, make an offering to God just in case God's listening, right? Is that, I mean, is it, what if you were by yourself and not around other religious people? Do you still do that kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay, so now it's really sounding like Pascal's wager. Like you're not believing, but you're kind of on you're not convinced necessarily one way or the other, but you're just kind of acting in a way, just in case, right? Would that be a fair way of describing it?
Let me jump in here. Pascal's wager is directly based on the notion of hell and a life thereafter in a purgatory and or hell or eternal suffering. I don't add any level of eternal suffering or punishment within this jurisdiction or context, because if you're only appeasing, you're not really pleasing. You have to come in all the texts, in all the sacred texts I've ever poured through, and I've poured through a lot of them. Humility, a contrite heart, purity, love, altruism, wisdom. These are all pure and sacred things. Faith, love, kindness, piety. These are all things that all the sacred texts talk about. And so you can't come to God or any gods or deities with a libation or any drink offering, any offering like that, or any even out of your mouth, and come to them and say, I'm only doing this to get out of one of your hells. That's not the right context in which to come to a God. Any of them.
Let me ask you something that might seem off the wall here. Is your family religious?
No. No,
okay. Because I was going to say, because what you're describing sounds a little bit like something that I went through a little bit. I don't remember ever believing in God, although I may have. I grew up in a religious family, and so as I was coming to grips with my lack of belief, and eventually calling myself an atheist, I went through various stages where I remember a point in time where I thought, well, maybe nature has got, you kind of, there's some phases that are fairly common that many atheists go through as they're coming to grips to deal with their own personal lack of belief in the context of maybe having a family that's very strong believers. And so I know that there can be a strong psychological pull towards believing if your family believes, or if somebody that you really respect, if they're believers, that can encourage you to believe. And so it's for a second there, it sounded kind of similar, but then you said your family wasn't believers. Why do you feel it's important to find that middle ground?
Fantastic question, Scott, but you'd never ask. Got a good answer for you, though.
You're setting us up. He's setting us up here. Okay. Sorry, Lantis, go ahead.
So, Kelley, you ready for this one? Kelly, you ready for this?
All right.
Answer?
Hit us with the truth here.
Kelly, you ready? Okay. Truth wanted? This is truth wanted. Hopefully this is truth wanted, because this is some truth. This is my truth. It doesn't have to be your truth, because it's subjective, okay? But here's
and it's
thing.
not truth, but okay.
I think religion or any kind of spirituality that anyone wants to get involved with on this planet, whether it be ancient or new or somewhere in the middle, offers a kind of extra color or spice or flavor or texture like silk or satin or velvet or red or blue or magenta or something like that, a fiery sunset or a sunrise, a green sunrise, even like they had in the early mid 1800s up here in the Hudson Valley of New York. When a volcano,
you know what? Let's try to put what you're saying into some practical words instead of flowery poetic words. So, what is it that you feel that we are that we need?
Kelly, I'm a poet.
When you say something like the greenness of the sunrise, what exact, let's put it into more practical terms so everybody can understand it.
Sure, yeah. I just mean it's a different kind of color. Any religion or spirituality that someone wants to practice adds a color or a spice or a flavor something, it can add something, and if it does add a flavor or a spice or a color or something meaningful into their lives, then let them practice it. But always they even of themselves and in themselves should know they should practice it with some skepticism or doubt.
So are you saying that embracing people that have different beliefs is kind of adds to the colors of the tapestry of human experience? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Not just that, but also letting yourself say, hey, maybe their beliefs are true to a certain extent, even going that far.
Okay, well, do you think that atheists do you think being an atheist means that you can't do that? Because there are many people that call themselves agnostic atheists, and I'm one of them, and I think Kelley would say the same thing. Or
no, I'm an atheist.
You're an atheist.
Yeah.
Okay. So, well, I mean, so would you? I mean, am I fitting what you're describing?
I think so. Yeah. I think
okay.
If you were offered with proof of God or any gods, I think you'd say, yeah, but I'm still not going to worship you. Maybe. I think maybe you would say that, or you would say, give me proof of that as to why I should worship you.
I'm open to the possibility of God, but only if I see some evidence supporting that belief.
Right.
I identify with the original meaning of non-cognitive theism, not this meaning.
Okay. Boy, we're confusing things up really, really well
that's
today.
That's why I was confused, because he wasn't using the term the way it's normally used.
So Lantis, what is the advantage for doing this? Are you just saying you're ready and no matter what, so that way if somebody does provide any evidence for you, you're ready to lean one way if you need to, or are you hedging your bets, or are you considering yourself to be open-minded, or are you trying to find ways of connecting with people, or are you trying to avoid shutting down methods of communication, or what is the why?
It's not like I'm hedging my bet. I'm not hedging my bets because I don't believe in hellfire or any legitimate form of hell. I'm not necessarily trying to appease any group or person, even though I'd like to find a meeting ground and a middle ground with everyone that is of good report and is altruistic. And also, I'm also trying to just be open to the concept that spirituality in a spiritual realm and the supernatural and the God or gods might be real, because I think that those deities would have a lot to share with us, no matter what their power or level of omniscience is or knowledge is. You would imagine that if they have to have some level of knowledge, and I think it could be quite beneficial exchange between us, in the hereafter or at some point.
Don't you think it's important to establish that they're real before we start deciding what kind of knowledge they have?
I think it might be safe to say that a deity, just calling something a deity might imply that thing called a deity has knowledge that is probably beyond our own capacity to think and wonder. And so I'm just saying I'm only postulating it. And I think we'll probably find out after we die, unless the catch is to offer some level of belief before we die. Otherwise, it's a dirt nap for the rest of eternity.
So you are just hedging your bets. I mean, you keep saying you're not, but the way you keep describing your beliefs, that's exactly what it is.
Well, that only works its way into my belief system in that I have a high fear of death, like in general, and I've been under anesthesia more than one time. Where it was,
I just don't understand why, the belief, hedging your bets and the belief of God has to do with death. Because a belief in God helps people. You can ask any theist; they're going to tell you that belief in God is going to help them out in life too. So again, and you just keep tying your hedging your bets in with death. Well, death isn't the only reason why you might be hedging your bets in a belief on God.
Right. It's also, I think right there, Kelley, in a roundabout way, you brought up the theology question, don't you?
I'm not sure. What question?
The theodicy. Because the theodicy is all about hedging your bets, ultimately. Because if suffering is in this world, the ultimate question is not what is the problem of suffering is the theodicy question, but the question beyond the theodicy is why, and the question that everyone gets when they're talking about the theodicy is why doesn't a deity or deities do anything about human suffering? I don't know, maybe they can't. Maybe it's the godlike prime directive. Once a society falls and they fall to a certain point, they take the training wheels off, or until societies reach a certain level of knowledge, they won't interact. They won't do miracles. And besides, why doesn't God provide food for the starving children in the world? He could turn mountains into mashed potatoes and rivers and streams into a soda pop if he wanted to, if he's all powerful, that is, but they'd be dirty in a day.
Well, Lantis, let me ask you this. Were you always believing in this manner, or were you ever a theist or an atheist, I suppose, or that did you ever believe differently than you do now? I'm curious. This is interesting, the way that you're presenting this. To me, it sounds like you're playing a part, but you keep insisting that that's not the case. And so I'm interested to hear how this might be seeming to you in your head. But I want to know, did you always think this way? Was this something you developed at a particular time in your life? Are you, what's your motivation for doing this? Because to me, it doesn't seem like what you're doing is really, I mean, if I was a god and you were pouring drinks for me, but you didn't actually believe in me, to me, that probably wouldn't do a whole lot for me. And so,
I offer some level of belief. I say, if you're there, this is for you. And I sincerely mean it. I do sincerely mean every time I pour. I wouldn't pour out a drink libation if I didn't mean it and sincerely in that moment believed in whichever deity I was pouring it out.
Okay, why do you think it's important to show that belief at that time?
It's kind of like because it's just my opinion that maybe and perhaps that some beauties and some imaginations in this world have come to us via inspiration through a deity or more than one spirit. And I think we owe them a little bit of devotion to that, and a little bit of something, and a little bit of a thank you. I think that there was, the scriptures talk about how there was a war in heaven, and like that war in heaven, the scriptures never said that it ended. How do we know?
Do you think that your approach to religion here, do you think that is in accordance with evidence and reason? Do you think that you're being rational?
Here's the thing. If I describe my beliefs, let me just preface this. And it's a good question, thoughts you never asked. Got a really good answer. Let me preface this by saying I'm neurally divergent. I'm on the scale for autism, and I've been diagnosed with schizoaffective disorder. So if I'm coming off as a little bit too passionate or a little bit too manic, I can tend to get this way, especially about a subject that I'm impassionated about. Now I've talked to like this voice that's introduced itself as God. I talked to Thor, Loki, Odin, Zeus, Persephone, Aphrodite, Hades. I talked to pretty much almost all everyone in the pantheon. I take this disorder with 2 giant grains of salt on each shoulder and a giant grain of salt on the very top of my head. It's my coping mechanism with it. It's to say maybe I'm hearing from all these spiritual deities, and my other coping mechanism is to say maybe it's all coming from a part of my subconscious that leaks into my id and my ego, and like maybe these voices. When I ask these questions to these godlike voices in my head and I get these specific answers, maybe it's all just my subconscious thinking up answers right on the spot to ease my mind where these questions would seek to cause me ill thoughts.
So do you think that your approach to belief then is based off of the way things really are about reality, or do you think it's maybe a way of you for coping with your feelings about the situation? Do you have external motivation or internal motivation on this?
Good question.
I think I would say it's both. I would say it's external and internal. And in the sense that it's internal, my brain, which is internal in my skull, my brain says to me, listen, this is what you should believe about religious thought and skeptical thinking. Why not combine the two? Why not throw in a dash of atheism, a soft atheism, agnosticism? Why not throw in a little dash of belief every now and again, or all the time, if it's only a little bit? It's not.
So you're trying to make sense of your feelings and the things that you're thinking and the things that you're experiencing in your life. It's kind of a way of resolving these different thoughts and experiences that you're having. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, and also externally, I also deal with it externally and view it externally in the sense that I think I have come to a rational conclusion about the subject matter of doubt, disbelief, unbelief, whatever you want to call it, and belief. I think the ultimate conclusion is we cherry pick. Why do we cherry pick? Because to get the bad apples separated from the good cherries.
Mm-hmm. So if I were to say to you that the reason that I don't believe in a God, and I am open to the possibility of there being a God, if I were ever to see any evidence or proof that there was a God, do you think that I'm not giving enough? Do you think I'm being too close-minded, or do you think I'm being open-minded enough by, I will say flat out that I don't believe that there is a God. I'm not saying that I feel any kind of certainty that there is no God, but my approach is that I say to myself that I just don't believe that there is a God, and I think that's an accurate description of myself, and I'm comfortable with that. Although I can imagine situations where I might not be comfortable saying that, and where I'd be maybe seeking to incorporate, other thoughts that I might have. Is that kind of? Do you think that's fair to say?
I think.
And do you think that I'm missing something? Because do you think I'm missing some of the human experience because I'm not being open to those kinds of things?
I think you're missing a spiritual experience, not a human experience. I think you're missing a spiritual experience. I think you're missing a sacred experience.
What is that?
Holy experience.
What is a spiritual experience?
I think, and also a divine experience. I think you're missing a spiritual experience is something that takes you out of the body, out of the mind, out of the comfort of any space in time and all of reality, and something that totally transcends all your thoughts, all your thinking, anything you've ever thought before, every instance you've ever had in your entire life, turns it inside out, outside in, backwards, frontwards, every which way, outways, and all like that. And then you look at the whole world from a totally different perspective.
So what has been some of the benefits of approaching things this way? Do you think that there are benefits and possibly some drawbacks to approaching the God question in this way?
I think for me, and I can only speak personally on this one, I know that maybe you and Kelley would have different answers, and I'd like to hear, because Kelley, I've seen you many times, and I don't know your religious background, and I would like to hear it again for a refresher, if you don't mind, if we get a minute. But at any rate, for me personally, I've had good experiences and bad experiences with this kind of harmonic level of thinking that I've reached in my approach to religion, spirituality, and atheism and agnosticism. And I've had pushback, and I've had pushback and good receptions all of the way around. I I have a fundamentalist Christian evangelical friend who is to the point where he accepts the fact that I go to spiritualistic medium type shit gatherings and occult and pagan gatherings on Zoom, Meetup, and I've gotten pushback from evangelical fundamentalist friends that don't think that some of the new thoughts that I have about spirituality and religion should be thought in a good Christian's mind, and that troubles me. But I've only gotten pushback from severe Republicans and like fundamentalist Christians. I haven't gotten liberals and those who are open and atheists and agnostics. I've gotten good feedback from.
Well, Lantis, I appreciate you sharing that with us. I will say this. I do applaud you for being self-reflective. I think that's something that's very important. And I appreciate the fact that you are trying to make sense of things as you see them and as you feel them and as you experience them. And, so I may disagree with some of the things you said, but I'm not you. I haven't experienced your life and I don't know how things look through your eyes. One of the things that I love doing these call-in shows is I get to hear about other people's lives and other people's experiences. So I want to give you kudos for that. I think it's great that you're doing that, and I think that I would encourage you to continue to be reflective, to think about your thought process. And I don't know, Kelley, did you have anything else you want to talk to Lantis about?
Yeah, Lantis, I don't know if you've ever checked out Recovering from Religion, but you might want to give them a call and talk about and see some of the resources they have for dealing.
They said I was too much of a troublemaker in their chat rooms and they banned me for life. They said
interesting.
Trouble. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say to that then. One thing I do want to say though is that if you want to continue this idea, this non-cognitive theism idea you have, you might want to find a different name for it because that name has already been taken for another concept. The idea of non-cognitive.
No, I apologize, Kelley. I apologize. Listen, let me apologize real quick. If I understand, that's what I sorely thought that's what I was. That the thoughts that I was putting forth directly, like my religious thoughts and my doubting thoughts, or whatever you want to call it, like I thought that was labeled non-cognitive theism. But if that's wrong, I will.
I was just gonna explain to you what that actually is. It's the idea that because we do not have an unambiguous definition of what God is, we cannot have a meaningful conversation about God. That is theosophical non-cognitivism.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that you should change the terms you're using, but just be aware that people might misunderstand you if you lead off with that. So just be ready to explain your thought process, your thinking, your conclusions, and that kind of thing. And like I said, I really appreciate your call. It was very interesting, and I think we're gonna wrap up the call here. We have some other callers we want to get to, but thank you, Lantis. That was very interesting, and I appreciate the fact that you called.
Sure, thanks.
Thank you, Lantis. You're always welcome to call back. So,
all right, that was good. I liked. It was like I said. I one of the things I love about these shows is we get to hear about things and get just a tiny little taste of what somebody else's experience is like. And so it was great that Lantis brought us in there. Do we want to look at some? We had some super chats sneaking in there.
Yeah, we had some super chats, and I have some announcements too. I messed up and I disconnected myself from Call-In Studio, so I was reconnecting.
Okay.
It says, please connect the host. I thought I did.
All right. Why don't we do the super chats and then we'll
do that. Yeah, there we go. So first super chat comes from Dustin King, member for 2 years for $5. Truth wanted, truth wanted, provided.
Truth wanted, truth wanted, provided. There we go. All right.
It was on 2 lines. You get that thing where you don't see the word twice, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You want to do the next one?
Sure. Next, we have a super chat from a friend of ours, Jimmy Jr. 499 says, cheers to two of the best. Thank you both for what you do, and happy Friday. Well, thanks, Jimmy. Happy Friday to you too.
I'd have to include you in the best there, Jimmy. You always at least bring out the best in me.
Definitely.
Together,
definitely. So. Yeah. I'm a Jimmy fan also.
I am too. Yeah. Thank you so much, Jimmy. And super chat from Puck, $5. Okay, now I've got to.
All right, go for it.
The wrist which Trish twisted shifted Richard Schist. A rock tongue twister just for me. Trish, the wrist which Trish twisted shifted Richard Schist. Dude, you got me finally on one. You finally got me on one. I had a hard time with that one.
I had a hard time, but you did it. You did it. You got through it. All right. Thanks, Puck. It's always fun to hear those tongue twisters thrown at Kelley.
And like I said, I have a few announcements I want to do. And the first one is it's time for our annual back cruise. Yeah, the back cruise. Woo! All right. And you know what? Last year I met somebody in person at the back cruise, and I made really good friends with them there. I've been friends with them ever since. And it was this guy, Scott Dickie. So, I mean, come to the back cruise. You're going to meet people. You're going to make friends, and hopefully friends that'll last. And not only will Scott and I be there again this year on August 24th.
Wouldn't miss it.
But also Forrest is going to be there. Forrest Falki, J Mike, Secular Rarity, Objectively Dan, Jimmy Jr. is going to be there, and many other famous faces and other hosts that you may not know that well, but you should. And you can meet them right now. And you can get your tickets and more information at tiny.cc/batcruise. And you can become a member right now by clicking the join button below the video. It costs $0 a month just to join, I think. Oh, no, wait, it's 99 cents a month. And it will give you special chat emojis and early access to YouTube shorts and clips. If you subscribe, it costs nothing. Right. You should subscribe too, because that costs nothing. I'm losing it over here. And available at the atheistcommunity.org are portable call-in flyers. Printable. I see.
I'm with you. I got your back. I got your back.
Good, because I'm having a hard time seeing it that far away. All right. You can post these with permission to community bulletin boards so people know they should call this show and defend their faith or whatever else they believe in. I know I've been able to post quite a few of them around my community. So, get on that. And you can email Truth Wanted at truth@atheist-community.org. You can reach out to the ACA at tv@atheist-community.org. And to see what's been going on, you can visit our website at atheist-community.org.
All right.
And last but not least, I want to thank the freaking awesome crew. So thank you, video operators, audio operators, all the people that do the crew stuff. Hi,
there
guys.
they are. There Woo! They are. Look at that crew.
I know there's more crew back there than those three guys, but those are three hardworking guys right there, though. And with that, we got another call, huh?
All right, we do have another call, yeah.
And we got Habeas Porpus in Texas. He's an atheist who rejoined his church of origin for legitimate reasons, but he's catching a lot of disdain from other atheists. Oh, I thought I clicked the talk button, but apparently, there we go. Hi, Habeas Porpus. How you doing?
Hi, Kelley. Hi, Scott. They got the name wrong. It's Habeas Porpus.
Habeas Porpus. Okay. That makes sense. That makes a lot more sense.
It doesn't make any sense to me, but hey, nice to talk to you guys. Some months ago, I guess this maybe 6 or 8 months ago, I called one of the Sunday shows to say I was rejoining my church of origin, a very liberal, progressive church, disciples of Christ, very vanilla, very progressive, very LGBT, welcoming, and they were happy to have me as an atheist. I told them up front, I'm a humanist, I'm an atheist, I'm a skeptic. They're like, come on in, come on in. And I did it for 3 reasons: community, because I grew up with these people. I live in a town of 11,000 people, so I knew most of the people one way or another in the church. I did it for community as a nexus to do community good, distributing food, clothing, helping people when they need it, and an opportunity to learn and to teach. And some of the atheist community gave me grief over joining a progressive church.
You mean like online community, or are you talking about community in your area?
Online.
Mhm.
Okay.
A couple of people actually said, you were never an atheist in the first place.
That old chestnut. Okay. Well, if you don't believe in a God,
I'd say.
that's how it works, right?
Yeah, I think there tends to be, we've all heard that about the angry atheists, and most of them tend to be online, and I think maybe these are the people you're experiencing, and I don't agree with them. I'll be honest with you. I think everybody should be free to do whatever they feel like doing. If you feel that's the best outlet for you to live that life that you choose and to do those things that you want to do, I don't have a problem with you doing it, especially if you're not going there to believe, but to do those things. And anytime you're doing good for your community, I don't care who you're doing it with or what avenues you're doing it through, you're doing a good thing. So I'm behind you 100%.
You said people were giving you a hard time. Are they giving you a hard time because of what you are specifically doing, or are they saying that you are harming the atheist community or atheist effort, or what exactly were they giving you a hard time about? Are they saying that you're
the vibe I get is that I'm a traitor to the cause.
Okay.
By joining a church, I'm compromising. You know what? I raise a lot of interesting questions at that church. Think of me as the secret agent, as the mole who's saying, was it really was there really a global flood? Not that those people even believe that, but it's a wonderful community. I've made a lot of friends up there, and I can't fathom why atheists would care. A lot of people said, couldn't you find community in public service and yada yada somewhere else? I have looked. I've joined political groups. I've looked a number of groups. I have not found anything that compares to this group of people.
Okay. So it's a personal connection then. It's not, you go and you participate in the religious rituals and the hymn singing, and do you take communion?
I do take communion. I can always use a cracker and a little tiny bit of grape juice. Why wouldn't I?
Okay. Well, speaking on behalf of all atheists, no, of course I'm not. Speaking on behalf of myself, I wouldn't necessarily have a problem with that per se. I would say, I would say that promoting the idea that that's the only place and way that you can find community perhaps could be seen as a negative way. But again, all of these judgments would be divorced from your context, right? So maybe you've tried, maybe you need personal connection just like anybody else. You need to have, I don't know, something to do on Sundays like everyone else. And the fact that you decide to do that in itself, I don't think is necessarily quote unquote, sabotaging or betraying of the atheist cause. I will say there's going to be assholes in any group pretty much. And there's plenty of asshole atheists out there too, that are going to give you shit for doing things that you enjoy. If you don't believe in a God, then you're an atheist. That's the bottom line there. If you like singing songs and you like sitting in a pew and you like taking your cracker and your grape juice, then, there are worse things that you could be doing. Personally, I wouldn't necessarily judge somebody just for doing that. We all have our own situations, and we all try to be human and deal with things and interact with people and have meaningful experiences in our life. And so if you're looking for some sort of support or some sort of backup, I suppose we could provide that for you here. I think, both of us, we feel that, you're not being a bad atheist by any stretch of the imagination. However, but I can see how it could be seen as promoting religious belief. If you're saying that a church is the only place that you can find community, clearly that's not the case. We're demonstrating that as we speak right now. You're communing with other atheists, and we're not promoting any irrational beliefs. And so,
It's the best.
It's-
It's the best place for me. It's a mile
For
away.
you to have face-to-face contact.
This church is super into food, and I love to cook. So there's a lot of food sharing going on here, and that's great.
Mhm.
Great for me too. There's just a lot of positives here, and very few.
Let me
negatives.
let me ask you: have your attitudes towards your belief in God changed in all the months you've been going to the church?
Oh hell no.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I was expecting to hear. And that's why I don't understand why you're betraying atheism. And honestly, I don't even know how you can betray atheism. That just seems like a weird concept to me to begin with, right?
You didn't have to sign the contract?
No, I did. Well, I'm not an atheist. I'm an ichthyist.
Oh, right. Okay, that's it. Right.
That's
okay.
why.
Yeah. We'll send you one in the mail.
Okay.
Let me ask you this, Porpoise.
Check.
How would you feel, and I'm just playing devil's advocate here, how would you feel if at some point you found out that somebody became a theist because of your participation in the social activities at this church?
I would say that is entirely up to them. I have no
Okay.
control
Good
over it.
answer.
I'm going to speak my piece, and if
Mhm.
they can take it however they want it. Let me tell you something else. This church does some interesting stuff. For the summer, we're doing Wednesday movie night. We get together and watch a largely secular, usually secular movie. Once a month, we get together for what's called beer and Bible study, where we go over to somebody's house and drink beer and talk shit about the Bible.
Mhm.
So I'm happy here. I just had to offer a little pushback since this first came up on an ACA show months ago. But for God's sake, I'm connecting with friends. I'm doing community good. I'm liking these people. If you don't think I should be doing that, fuck you. I'm still going to do it. So that's
I volunteered at a church that did a food pantry program where they gave out free food once a week to people. And I had nothing to do with the church at all, but I helped them run the food pantry. So like I said, I don't see any problem with it myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I necessarily have a problem per se with what you're doing. Just if you want to try to wrap your head around the naysayers that you're experiencing in the atheist community, perhaps they could view what you're doing and whether or not this is what you're doing is, all we know about you is the couple of minutes that you've explained to us, but just trying to understand where some of the pushback might come from. Perhaps they see any kind of promotion of religious beliefs would be harmful to society, and they might consider that participation in these activities is kind of a de facto support. And I don't necessarily, I'm not saying that that's my position, but I can understand how somebody might think that. And the feedback that you're getting from these online atheists, remember, they might not understand your context, but then you also don't understand their context too. And so they might be sore about something or touchy about something, or maybe somebody was just calling them, a fake atheist or a traitor to the cause and that kind of thing. And so there could be many, many different reasons why you might be hearing that kind of thing. And so I would encourage you to, first of all, not take it personally. If people that don't know you are criticizing you, then, okay, fine. That's what you think. That's okay. I think that if you're doing, if you're taking care of yourself, doing what's good for you, and I think if you're conscientious and trying to make a positive, if one person accuses you of supporting religion and saying that, lending credence to some of their beliefs, you could flip the script and say the same thing that you said to us at the beginning. You kind of see it as a way of like almost like you're a mole, kind of, right? Maybe you are influencing other atheists to maybe reconsider their position, but who's to say you're not also encouraging theists to reconsider their position as well?
I think we lost them.
Did we lose?
Yes.
Did we lose our caller? Okay. Porpoise, if you want to try calling back and connect back up with us, we can just we can kind of wrap that up. But I think that no matter how you do it, no matter what you do, there's going to be people complaining you, especially on the internet. I mean, that's like the worst place to try to to get an idea of what society thinks of any particular subject, because you're going to have a handful of people that are totally gung-ho in favor of it, and you're going to get a handful of people that talk about it like
Totally
it's literally
against it.
the devil. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so just take that into consideration. You wish they would consider your position, but that can go both ways as well. So thanks so much for the call, Habeas Porpus. I appreciate that perspective. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Definitely. What we got? We got a message here. You know what? Do we have a? I don't know if we have a video, audio message, a voicemail this week. That'd be awesome if we did.
Do we have a voicemail?
I don't think we do.
Okay. How are we doing? We're up to date on all of the
And all
the
of our
super chats and
announcements? Yeah.
announcements and all that stuff.
Do you want to do a couple of these screenshots?
Sure. Yeah.
How about let me see, we got any for you? No, they're all about me. I was hoping to find one about you.
I'm here to learn about you. I want to learn more. I want to be more like Kelley, right? Who doesn't want to be more like Kelley? And so how can we do that? Let's see. Can we pull up?
Yeah, can we pull up the first screenshot then? Okay, there
all
it
right,
is.
there we
All
go.
right, and it says, the material sciences recognize millions of different chemical compounds and crystal structures. Sure, some studies show nothing, but some studies show something, and the placebo effect is real enough. How about just let weird people do weird stuff? I don't remember the last time a witchy lady with crystals committed genocide against atheists. Do you? This was in response to me saying that healing crystals don't work.
So it's more of the why can't you just let people believe and behave how they want, or how they think is important?
I'm glad we did this one because there's so much packed into this.
Right.
First off, some studies show nothing, but some studies show something. I'm wondering what something they're talking about because I'm not sure. I really don't know.
Maybe they're referring to the healing properties of crystals. Have you seen any studies that show that there's something?
Absolutely none. Except for, some chemicals that are in rocks do have healing properties.
Like medicinal properties.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, they do. We use radioactives in radiation therapy, right?
Okay.
I mean, there are some things that do, but is there a special healing energy that come from crystals? No, we haven't been able to discover anything like that, and we have never seen anything like that whatsoever.
And when people say that crystals have healing properties, I don't think they're talking about medicinal properties. I don't think that they're talking about radiation. They're talking about some kind of mystical or magical.
Yeah, some magical healing power.
Yeah.
And they do try to explain it with the pseudoscience I just had a woman yesterday talking about the vibrations. And she was in my store and she told another woman that selenite helps you sleep. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how does it do that? What's the mechanics behind it? You know? And I was really nice about it. I just would like you to explain it to me. And her explanation was everything vibrates. You see, because everything has an atomic vibration. Therefore the selenite makes you sleep. So they try to do this like pseudoscience, make this pseudoscience out of it.
Right.
The next thing, the placebo effect is real enough. Yes, the placebo effect is real enough. Many people have a misinformation or misunderstanding of the placebo effect. It only works on about 20% of the people. That's 1 in 5. 1 in 5. So if you are telling somebody that something will work and it's only a placebo effect, you are lying to 80% of the people you're talking to. So let's just rule. And also the placebo effect doesn't cure anything. What it does is it relieves subjective symptoms, things like hunger, pain, depression. It doesn't actually cure anything. It just relieves symptoms. So let's just throw the placebo effect right out of this equation. And the last thing, how about letting weird people do weird stuff? I don't remember the last time a witchy lady with crystals committed genocide against atheists. Is that the only thing that person has to do to be wrong?
Boy, that
Is that
bar
the
is
only-
set pretty high there.
That's what I'm saying. So, but it's okay then for a witchy woman with crystal to build billions of dollars out of people every year by telling them that they're falsely going to be healed by the crystal that they just sold them. And that's bad enough in and of itself. I don't think we have to wait for them to start killing atheists to say that they're doing bad things.
Right. And to answer the question directly, how about just let weird people do weird stuff? We do let, I mean, this isn't outlawed. You know, we're not, if somebody comes into Kelley's store and starts talking about healing powers of crystals, he doesn't call the police and say, take this person away and throw them away. You can do weird stuff. And that's often a good thing. However, if you are misattributing healing properties and causes, that can be damaging. That can cause, you know, somebody could say, well, I don't need to go to that chemotherapy. I have my healing rock here with me. And I know it's working because I feel better than I did yesterday. And, you know, like Kelley was saying, the placebo effect can have some things like actually lessening pain, but a lot of that is subjective. And so, but what the thing about the placebo effect is it mischaracterizes the cause of that effect. And so anytime that you do that, you're promoting, you're promoting misinformation. And so if that was the case, then if there were actual properties, then that's fine. But there haven't been there's no evidence to show that people are in fact vibrating. There's, it's just not the way that it's being presented.
One of the things that I always explain to people when they talk about the vibrations affecting you is that, everything vibrates, and they'll agree to that. So that means everything is affecting me. I walk by a particular building and its vibration is affecting me. And then I walk by the parked car and its vibration affects me. And then I pass a guy walking his dog on the street and their vibration affects me. And the sidewalk I'm walking on is affecting me. And they don't ever think about that. There's just this one rock is affecting me, everything else around me.
I thought I could detect change in your vibration as we walked past that parked car. And so that must have been it. So yes, we do let weird people do weird things. However, that doesn't mean that we should ignore it and not say that they're just wrong. They're wrong about their conclusions, or at least we can say that they haven't been demonstrated to be right. And so there's a difference between outlawing or prohibiting people from behaving in a certain way, and that's different than trying to talk them into having a more rational approach. And so we can do both. We can approach things both ways. And I think there's benefits in doing things that way.
The crew tells me they do have the voicemail ready now.
All right, let's bring it on.
Let's roll it.
Hello there. It's me calling you guys because I want to try and give you guys evidence of the supernatural and for God. So you see, I'm a Christian. It's like, okay, so even if you did prove God, why would it be Christianity? Well, let's first show that there is supernatural. So most scientists believe that the universe had a beginning at the Big Bang, regardless of day, regardless of whatever. They believe that the universe had a Big Bang, began in the Big Bang, not because it's logical to think that the universe had a beginning because of different things like the second law of thermodynamics, the law of entropy, Einstein's law of general relativity, and other things like that, which all show that the universe can't be infinite. And so nature, even if you do believe something like the cosmic rebound theory, which I don't feel like getting into right now, but that's definitely wrong, and even NASA doesn't believe that, then surely the cause of natural law would have to be outside of it. And if your definition of supernatural is something beyond nature, then that would be supernatural. Then by definition, something supernatural would be the cause of the universe.
Wow, I'm convinced. I don't know. Maybe
I think there was a lot of misunderstanding of a lot of the scientific principles he was using.
I definitely agree with you on that.
Yeah, I mean, he was citing a lot of scientific stuff that I don't think he fully understood. But that was interesting. I kind of agree that if there was something beyond the Planck time, that would be outside of our current universe, and that would be considered supernatural by some people. But what about this? And you even said the universe is infinite. What if also the universe is eternal?
Well, he was citing these other evidences that it couldn't be eternal. He was saying that because of thermodynamics, et cetera, that the universe definitely had a beginning. And I think, at least in my experience, if I'm happen to be around a physicist, or now I'm a math teacher at a college, and so I do have some colleagues that are physicists. Whenever I press a physicist, do we have reason to believe that the universe began? None of them will say yes. And the reason is that we don't know. We do agree that the Big Bang occurred, which was a period of rapid inflation in the universe, rapid expansion, but the current models that we have can't bring us all the way back to a time zero. So what we have here is we can't look beyond the Big Bang. We don't know what, if anything, happened before that. And so we can't say that we know that the universe doesn't have a beginning. Maybe if this, if we had a caller that we could discuss, we could go into some of those things like entropy and stuff like that. But we don't necessarily know what happened before the Big Bang. And we also don't know, when we say the universe began, at best, we could say that our known universe began. This local, I've heard it described as this local instantiation of the universe. Our, what we can see of the universe, our known universe. Even if we could say that it began, that's all that we could say. We don't know if there's other natural universes outside of ours. We don't know if our universe is just part of a larger universe. We don't know. And ironically, it's the theist that's promoting this idea that there is something outside of our universe, but who's to say it's not natural?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Entropy happens within a closed system, correct?
Entropy is just a changing of energy from a useful to a non-useful state.
And that happens within a closed system.
Well, it can happen within an open system as well, but the second law of thermodynamics does refer to a closed system. It says that on the whole, entropy increases in a closed system.
Okay. Now, if the universe is infinite and eternal, wouldn't it be an open system, and that law of thermodynamics of entropy wouldn't apply?
That could be. But in any case, whether or not that's the case, whether or not it could be an eternal and infinite universe. But my point is that the theist is the one saying that there is something outside of our universe. They're saying that their God pumped energy into our universe. So it's by their definition, it wouldn't be a closed universe. It would have access to this other realm, this heaven or whatever,
right,
whatever might exist outside of the universe. But my point is that what if there was another natural universe? We can't say for sure. We can't say with any amount of certainty that nature consists only of things within our universe. And so even if the Kalam cosmological argument, that's what he was starting out with by referring to the age of the universe, even if he could prove that the universe had a beginning and that the universe definitely had a cause, that doesn't necessarily lead to a conclusion that it was a supernatural cause, because we don't know if we have cornered the market on nature. We can't, just because we know that our universe began, if we know that doesn't necessarily mean that all of nature began. And that doesn't mean that there couldn't be other natural forces outside of our universe. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think sure. Yeah. I think that's definitely a possibility. I just think that I think that our caller was ruling out a lot of ideas that he hasn't thought about because he's caught up in his one idea of God.
That could be. It sounded a lot like he was trying to justify his belief, and rather than trying to.
It sounded like he thought the Big Bang was the beginning of the universe.
Maybe he should listen to Descartes, and he should
not put
doubt as much as possible all things at some point, and maybe start from that level and work his way up, rather than starting from that belief. But now we're judging. And so we should maybe stop at that. Okay.
Especially since he's not here to defend himself.
That's true.
What I had a great time tonight. I am so glad you were here, because we never did this before with both hosts in the same remote location.
Yep.
I thought this was a lot of fun. I'm going to probably just go ahead and wrap it up here. So I want to thank you, Scott, for
Sure.
not only being on the show with me, but actually being on the show with me. So I had a great time.
We nailed it.
And where can, like, if somebody wanted to see more of you, where would they look for you at?
At the current moment, I'm at Kelley's Rock Shop, and so you can come see me here. You'll also find me on the nonprofits. I'm on there fairly often, and loving life there as well.
And
so
it is the flagship show of the ACA.
flagship show of the ACA, right? I can see the flag from where I sit on the show.
And I want to reiterate the segment, We Want the Truth. Our prompt for this week is, what is Bigfoot's weakness? So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of good answers for that. I hope so anyway. Comment on the video below. Don't do it in the YouTube chat. Put it in below. And next week, we may be reading yours on the next episode.
Maybe.
So tune in at the beginning of next episode to see if you made it into the top 3. And stick around because we're going to go hang out in the atheist community of Discord for an after show for a little bit.
For sure.
And one of the things I want to do before we leave, and it's really important to me because I am the backup host quite often, and I want to thank Infidel64 and Eli Slack for being here. We had to get 2 hosts tonight because if we lost one of us, we were going to lose both of us. So they had 2 people standing by. Thank you so much for just hanging out and doing nothing all night long. I really appreciate it. You're both welcome to come and join us in the YouTube chat or the Discord chat. I hope you do. And so everybody, answer the new question of the week. Hopefully we'll get you on next week. We'll get you your answer on next week. I'm just totally tongue-tied.
That's okay.
I'm excited because you're here, Scott.
That's okay. That's okay. I have that effect on people.
Yeah, I know you do. I've been around you before. And remember, we hope to see you back next week. And remember, keep wanting the truth.
Watch the non-profits and join the hosts in the live chat. Visit tiny.cc/ytnp.